Now, Adam, as we all know, women's wrestling wasn't invented until 2015 by Stephanie McMahon when she brought out Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte Flair to actually start women's wrestling in North America. So I know we've got a very small pool to pick from, but who are some of the greatest women's champions of all time?
Bayley, NXT Women's Champion. Like that,
that was before it was invented.
From the long ago. It was obviously Bayley's doing amazing work now. Bayley DOS belts is fantastic. But there was a very long time, like almost like 4 years, where Bayley was bad on the main roster, which was such a terrible shame, because I just don't want people to forget how amazing the surge of Bayley as a phenomenon was in like 2016, especially 2015 to 2016. Bayley was like unapologetically like one of the greatest baby faces, I think, in wrestling history, like up there with Daniel Bryan in terms of we like them unironically because they are a good person and a good wrestler and an actual inspiration to children. You can like literally see the children that she was inspiring. When Izzy, it just goes to show that when Bayley moved to the main roster and Izzy became a fan of Alexa Bliss instead, I was just like, my heart broke in two. Bayley is honestly like one of my favorites ever.
Yeah, I mean, I've told this story a few times on podcasts before, but when I was at NXT Takeover London, I nearly broke into tears when she came out for her match with against Nia Jax, because so excited to see Bayley, she's my fave, but also genuinely worried she was going to lose the title, and I didn't want to see her lose. I didn't want to be there to see her lose the title. No. And I did break into tears when she did win the title in Brooklyn, because I've watched that match back, and every time I watch it, I do break into tears because it's such a great moment, and she's just so perfect in that role. I once wrote an article for a website. I didn't publish it in the end, but I did write an article in 2015 that was called "I'm 30 years old and I like Bayley, and that's okay." And it was.
Is that ever in doubt? Bayley's just she's so great. Like it's just like purity of character, a good soul. It's all right to like a good soul.
But there was a period of time, like around like when she won the title, there was a period of time where people were like, "Oh, it's very weird to see old men that like Bayley, who was meant for kids."
Now, it's very weird to see old men wearing a t-shirt that says upon it, "I'm a hugger." That's disconcerting.
I didn't go that far. I did not have merchandise. Okay. I had a cool Balor Club t-shirt.
Oh, radical. But like for me, like when you talk about women's champions, what sets Bayley apart from all of the other horsewomen, I think maybe you could probably say it about Charlotte, as in like Charlotte's an amazing champion. Like, I mean, like, champion seems to be Charlotte's whole gimmick at this point. They're basically rocketing her to replicate her dad's record. So literally, like, she wins championships is a fundamental part of her character. But like, I love Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, but I don't know, like, if the framework we're looking at is champions, Sasha's a terrible champion.
Oh, like, dreadful.
She, like, literally, other than this run with the women's championships, she's dropped every single, like, as soon as she gets a gold around her shoulder, she's nerfed. And Becky Lynch she's certainly a long-lasting Raw champion, but you could argue that being Raw champion for so long was a huge it kind of really hurt her character, because what made what made Becky so great was the fact that she was sort of kept down. Like, she is the perfect example of a babyface who is better in the chase than as the champ. Whereas Bayley just kind of like had the championship and just kept being like, all right, I guess I'll fight, and just like coming out on top through sheer guts and fortitude. So yeah, like Bayley won 100%.
So outside, obviously, we joke that women's wrestling was invented in 2015. It's just sort of a WWE thing. But like, is there anyone prior to that that sort of jumps out to you from sort of the attitude, or even from like TNA and things like that?
I mean, I think in terms of like, I think Trish, just because not just because she held the belt so many times, but because like the progress of becoming champion, multiple champions, and ending up sort of being remembered as sort of the women's champion of that belt. Like, she's the women's champion. It's such a great kind of character arc for her, because she came in as a fitness model, who's there to basically look mean on the arms of TNA, and occasionally be put through a table by Bubba Ray Dudley. But then she kind of just became this amazing workhorse and sort of like the figurehead of women's wrestling, and like the gold standard for a decade. Really, like her and Lita were like the two ones which everyone's just like, even in the Divas era, you can still look back and go, well, remember Trish was great. So in as sort of like an ambassador for a kind of a time of women's wrestling, which like it doesn't kind of get the props these days. I think Trish as a champion was really fantastic. And of course, like you like, I don't want to kind of speak too much about the subjects I don't know too much, but you tell me about like the TNA knockouts and how they are sort of.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I've kind of raved about the knockouts before on this show, being like, just how sort of really good they were. When WWE was doing Nout with their women's division, TNA was being like, here's what you can do. And the work between Awesome Kong and Gail Kim, like Gail Kim was like, she was the Trish of TNA, I would say, was like the real figurehead of their women's division, which is why I think like, Gail Kim is still kind of associated with TNA. And I think that's why, she went to WWE, eliminated herself from a battle royal, and went back to TNA. Because she was like, F this is rubbish. I'm going to go and actually be a wrestler for a change. But yeah, so I think that she was doing some brilliant stuff, and which was a great champion, great knockouts champion. While I don't particularly like the knockouts name, I thought she was a very good knockouts champion. But yeah, to sort of round off on the Trish Stratus chat, her match with Mickie James at WrestleMania was like for the longest time the best women's match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, only topped by the triple threat, and that I think was genuinely like 10 years after the fact.
Yeah,